I'll go through
So
that explanation. Let's talk about how confusing
I
this article
know
is, in fact.
Peter. I just started recording. Peter and I were just sitting here talking about what this story is even really about. It talks about how Amazon is making accessible to its marketers access to the Amazon Marketing Cloud, which for the first time will let them connect information about their customers with everything that Amazon knows, which is a tremendous amount of information. One of the issues with Amazon is that Amazon is known for its resellers community, but one of the main frustrations the resellers have had is they can't get access to any of the marketing information. Who's buying their products? I know Peter loves tracking, which Amazon has because of their server side
Love it.
tracking. And this is going to make it accessible to users for the first time. So Peter and I are going to try to unravel this for you on today's Not So Critical update.
So we had this funny story about this article, by the way. We have this system in the back end. If you're not familiar, sorry about this. If you haven't heard, where on Discord we post links and they end up on a Google sheet, and yeah. So Mike posted this link to this article earlier in the week, and I think what happened was I must have opened it in a tab, and then took it a couple of days to get around to reading it, and then thought, oh, that's kind of interesting. I think I'll post that to Discord. And then Mike's like, oh, so I saw that you voted for this, but not the one that I submitted. Anyway, yeah. So I read this article and I found it kind of interesting, but I did find it a little bit the article itself a bit confusing. The title is Amazon's Clean Room is becoming
Becoming
a
a
formidable cookie challenger. Yeah. So the it sounds Amazon has so many products that when you hear Amazon something, it's very difficult to know whether that is a product that's being talked about, like or just something, some description of something that they're doing, like Amazon's Clean Room. They don't have a product called Clean Room, as far as I can tell. It's mentioned in the title of the article and nowhere else. But I think what it's referring to, and this is what Mike and I were talking about earlier, is the fact that Amazon don't really use cookies very much on their platforms. So AWS doesn't have cookies really anywhere. S3 doesn't have cookies. The various different, I mean, they have so many different products. But what they do have is all that information on the back end about who's doing what. So they can connect it to things on their side. So they have a thing called AMC, which is the Amazon Marketing Cloud. Is that right?
correct, yes.
Yeah. And that's what they've unveiled recently. So the cookie challenger thing is like, I've talked about this quite a bit before, is that one thing you can't block is server to server communication. And if you own the whole thing, the whole infrastructure, then it's very easy to do that. So
And so that just to be clear for
yeah.
anybody who's not picturing this, to capture so tracking is about knowing what a user is doing on your site. And if I am a company and I have a website and I want to track my users, or if I want to connect to Facebook data, or if I want to connect to Google ad data, I do that by putting a client-side JavaScript widget on the page that in the browser, after the page is already loaded, watches what the user's doing and sends that information back to whoever's widget that is. In this case with Amazon, it's their site on their servers. So if I click a link, they know I clicked the link and they log that for the tracking. And they then can send that directly to their own warehouse, first of all, but to
Yeah.
Facebook or to wherever else they want to have that tracking.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's they don't need cookies. Cookies are just a way
Right.
for third-party sites to kind of share information with each other. This person was on that site and they're also on somewhere else. But if you own the whole thing, the whole infrastructure, if you're going from one Amazon site to another, or one Amazon service to another, cookies aren't really needed. So it's an interesting thing. And the server-to-server communication that I talked about before is cookies work on the client side. It works on your computer. You're sending information that you went to this site and to that site, and just kind of the cookies are like enabling that. server to server stuff is where the server is doing the tracking and it's sharing information with other servers. So you go to site A, and then you go to site B, and the servers A and B communicate with each other. And you can't block that. There's nothing you can do as an end user to stop that happening.
And the
Um,
story here, I don't remember if we said it or not, is that Amazon for the first time is making their marketing data that they've been collecting through their
yeah,
first party server side tracking, which is probably, I mean, I could guess that it's the largest collection
quite a lot.
of buyer behavior in the world since they are the largest online shopping platform. And they're going to open up this Amazon Marketing Cloud to resellers, online marketers to be able to access the information that they've been collecting.
It's kind of scary in a way. Did I tell you about my experiences with the data broker recently?
You mentioned that
So,
you were doing some fiddling.
I did. I did a bit of fiddling. Yeah, we did a story about Kochava and them selling billions of data about billions of mobile devices using their unique ad ID, I think it was. And I wanted to see how easy it was to get access to that data. So I signed up with a data broker, so it's a website, and my information was forwarded to some different people, and including Kochava, I think. And they are really super pushy. They're like, they would not let go. They really wanted to sell me this data, and it was, it was in the sort of single to double digit thousands, which was interesting. Um, and I think that's kind of what Amazon are doing now, right? They're saying, hey, we can, rather than try and use this data ourselves, we can just make a ton of money selling it to other people who can use it, which is, I guess, logical, but just gross. And I don't know.
There are
And
plenty of businesses that monetize their databases as a separate independent income stream for the business.
well, Amazon's the king of monetizing things independently, right? It started off as a bookshop, and then they made a whole infrastructure and thought, hey, we can sell that, and then they did, and now they kind of, yeah,
It's been
they
an
don't lose an
interesting
opportunity.
evolution. They I think similar to eBay, they created a really interesting market where people could, if I've got something locally that there's no demand for it, but there's demand for it across the country or in another country, I can resell that on Amazon to help take care of that, geographic arbitrage. You'd see that with retail arbitrage. So really interesting opportunity for online sellers to use the reseller community that Amazon provided. But then at the same time, Amazon started competing with them and keeping the marketing information secret. So interesting evolutions. Amazon as a, I don't know. I feel like Amazon doesn't have a hugely negative connotation, but at the same time, they're not what they used to be. One of the things that frustrates me is, I mean,
Yeah,
you could live and die by Amazon reviews for a long time. If you bought something on Amazon that had high ratings, like it was as good as gold. Now, so many of the ratings are garbage. You don't even know what you're getting.
yeah, that's true. So true. I now most of the time I ignore the reviews because the things I'm buying are just like, well, trivial things that don't really care about too much. But when it's something that it's like a new type of product, like let's say, I don't know much about microphones. So if I need to get a new microphone, I really have to kind of dig in and research. And the reviews are really helpful then because it's something that I don't know anything about, and having people who are kind of actually do know about the product. And it's so frustrating to kind of scroll down and see that someone's a review for, like, I don't know, a Pokemon ball or a fucking lighter or
Because
something
they
when you're
changed the
trying to read
listing.
about, yeah, they changed the list. It's
Yeah.
completely different. Like
Yeah.
and there's tons of 5-star reviews, and you're like, oh god, it makes me want to give up.
And
The whole
reviews,
internet's like that.
yeah, I was just going to say reviews, the quality of reviews is not just an Amazon problem. You see the same thing on Google Maps says their reviews.
Yeah,
What's the site that's kind of most famous for reviews that I can't think of?
Yelp,
Yelp, yeah, yeah, yeah,
trusted.
yeah.
Yeah,
You see
Trustpilot.
reviews
Do you have
being
Trustpilot?
name sounds familiar. Yelp is the one I was thinking of though. But the reviews are becoming weaponized. People will buy reviews so they don't mean anything. It's just
Yeah.
the online reviewing system right now is I I was almost going to say as bad as social media. I think the consequences of social media are worse, but they're equally as meaningless if you're looking for
Well,
valuable content.
it's sort of come full circle in that, like, in another respect, which is that um, I have, we had things like Witch magazine, and they were the trusted source for a long time. And then crowdsourced reviews came about, and we were like, oh, hey, we can just trust each other. We can all tell each other what's good and what's not.
Hmm.
Cool, that's cool. We don't have to rely on a magazine. And now that's all gone to shit. So I've actually go back to Witch these days and look there before looking anywhere else for some new things
Is
to
this a
check whether they
British
have.
thing? What's which?
Oh, sorry. Which is a consumer review magazine. It's
Oh,
huge. It's
I
there's
don't think
also
we have
all sorts
that.
of versions of it, like which car, which I don't know. There's not specific like fridges, but it's called. It's actually one of those annoying uh, names where they have a what do you call it? They have an exclamation. They have a question mark. So it's actually which magazine, like like Yahoo. Or,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's called Which. So this Which PC and Which
Yeah. I
different
think that
versions.
must be a British
You
thing. I've
pro-
never seen that.
yeah, it probably is. I mean, there's got to be a US equivalent. I would have thought.
I mean, we've got
Like
like Consumer
wh-
Reports. Is it maybe something like that?
maybe don't know. I don't know actually. It's
Yeah.
good point. Didn't really realize it wasn't a US thing.
Unless I'm just out of touch and don't know that, but I've
No.
never seen it. Maybe there's
Okay.
some
Interesting.
opportunity to start a review magazine in the US.
So, so back when you were, a young, spry 20-year-old, if you were going to buy a fridge, where would you get a review for it?
Probably Consumer Reports,
Okay,
I would
right. So
think.
then it's probably the same. I never heard
Yeah.
of consumer. I mean, other than it does what it says on the tin style of things. Like, I've heard of a Consumer Report,
Oh yeah. No,
but
Consumer Reports, a magazine that would do like auto reviews and probably big purchase reviews
ah,
similar to what you're talking about.
yeah, sounds exactly the same.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay,
cool.
cool.
Well, I'm glad we
So
got
we
that sorted
solved
out.
it.
We solved it. Yeah,
We're
problem
going
solved.
back to print
Um,
magazines.
Basically, yes. Oh my god,
Okay,
I wouldn't
boomer.
be averse to that. I think, yeah, I think that would be kind of cool. Do you know, one of the joys of my life was walking through the newsagents and looking for the latest version of the PC gaming magazine or something.
Yeah.
It was so exciting, wait for that thing to come out and reading about the new 486 DX plus CPU.
Yeah. I will
Yeah,
still
oh
actually do
god.
that from time to time. Probably haven't in a year or so, but there's I don't know if it's a Borders or a Barnes and Noble. Probably Barnes and Noble, right? Did Borders go out of business? Um, but just wander into an actual bookstore and look at the magazine racks and some of the. It's interesting to walk around and see what's in
Oh,
there.
yeah, bookstores are awesome. Like there's a Waterstones. I don't know if you have that one. It's like the UK equivalent of Barnes and Nobles, I think. And there's one in my town, and it's so nice. It's
Yeah.
so like handwritten little signs for the books and things. I love it. People who actually love books. What are we talking about? Amazon? Yeah, okay.
Just
They started as a
reminiscing,
bookstore. There we go. There
reminiscing of
is
old
a
times.
there is a callback. um, yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll wait and see what happens. Probably the end of the world in
Yeah.
another small
Yeah.
way. It does make me a bit exhausted sometimes, thinking about how much of our data is out there that's being shared and sold and bartered and abused, and how many psychological profiles there are that kind of being built of me, and every single thing I'm doing being tracked, and
Yeah.
it's exhausting.
It
But
is.
hey.
That's why I stopped worrying about it.
Okay, here's a question. Here's a genuine question for you. Do you think you would ever unplug, like just just
Mm,
load up
mm,
on?
no. No, I don't see it happening. I mean, so what I online shopping probably couldn't live without. I order probably something from Amazon almost every day, even if it's like some $5 thing that I expect to have in my hands by noon tomorrow, which is
Yeah,
horrible
right.
buyer
That you
behavior.
really need by
Yeah,
tomorrow. You need it
yeah,
so badly.
I know it's crazy. Horribly inefficient, terrible for the environment. I should not be allowed to do that. There's no reason I need to. I kind of wish they would take that option away from me. I watch lots of YouTube, so that's streaming, and I'm sure that's all being tracked. I use not a lot of social media lately. use Discord for the show. Link in the description. You should definitely check that out.
Yeah.
Even within my family, we have a Discord server up, just set up for the three of us to communicate, so we don't use SMS. So in terms of unplugging, like I don't feel like I do. I don't know. I don't know. I I don't get wrapped up in. If I think of unplugging, I think primarily of social media, and I don't do a ton of social media. I will, get sucked into a TikTok hole for an entire night a couple times a month, but that's about it.
TikTok hole. Yeah, oh, wow. I didn't think I'm still shocked that you told me this last week that you were a TikToker, and I still find it kind of amazing.
I mean, you
Uh
don't have
I
to
don't
know anything. You just open TikTok and it shows you interesting shit for as long as you care to sit there.
yeah, it doesn't sound healthy. Oh man. I suppose though, I've done that. I've gone into a Candy Crush hole before. Just hours and hours of the next level of
I
Candy
know.
Crush.
I've gotten into playing
I think I would
Sudoku
like
for lately, but that's not
online
hurting
on
anyone.
the piece of paper or
No, on my phone, on my phone. So
of course,
I
yeah.
don't know. I kind of think I'm not super addicted to my phone because there certainly are times that I'll just leave it and not even reach for it. But if I'm like watching TV, I try not to double screen as much as possible, and I think I'm pretty good about that. But who knows? I'm sure I'm more dependent on it than I want to say. All right. So just you and me for the rest of the week. We have, what do we have tomorrow? So tomorrow, another work reform story. Tomorrow we're going to talk about quiet quitting, and now the new trend
Quite
of
constrained.
quiet constraint. So it'll be you and me again tomorrow talking about quiet constraint. See everyone
Quietly
there,
constrained.
folding back without saying anything.